Press the bell icon on the YouTube app to never miss a video from News Laundry.
Welcome to News Laundry Chhota Hafta. For the full episode, subscribe because it is behind the paywall and only subscribers get access to uncut, complete content. News Laundry Hafta is our weekly wrap of all that made the news, all that didn't, and all that should have and all that shouldn't have. We agree, we disagree, we critique, and occasionally we beat each other up. But it's all good fun. Subscribe.
This is a News Laundry podcast and you're listening to NL Hafta.
Welcome to another episode of Hafta on the day that Bhai has been sent to jail. We will discuss that and more, but first let me introduce the panel to you. We have our managing editor, Raman Kripal. Hi, Raman sir. We have the anchor of Nuisance.
Hello.
Manisha Pandey. And we have a guest today, Joyjeet Das. He is a journalist who is now with Catch. He's been a journalist for over 15 years, although his youthful looks do not quite give that away. But
Thank you and hello.
Hello, you've been with the Economic Times, with Mail Today as well. And before Catch, your last assignment was with Reuters.
Yeah, Reuters.
So those of you who don't know, Reuters is a news agency, right?
Yes.
So yes, so Reuters is an agency, but yet it has its own website. So what?
So Reuters is a news agency. It supplies news to media outlets, but also directly to subscribers, depending on their requirements, directly onto their terminal. Not only news, it's also about a lot of data, information. It has other subsidiaries which are more into data mining. That apart, it has a website which more or less deals with general news.
So it gives a fraction of the overall stuff that it gathers
on the web.
Only a little bit is on its own site.
Yes.
All right, and I'm Abhinandan Sekhri with the regular appeal that I put out every week. Pay to keep news free, because when the public pays, the public is served. When advertisers pay, advertisers are served. Subscribe to News Laundry, pay to keep news free. And because Angrez apna lagan the News Laundry Hafta kabhi to nahi chhodte, I will quickly run you over. No, I won't run you over. That I will leave for others. Driverless cars. I will run you through. Yes, I'll run you through the list of things that we'll discuss today. My God, that was such an opportune slip up. So we are going to be discussing the fake news regulation order, which was issued at some 9:30 odd in the morning and withdrawn by noon or 1. And there are all sorts of theories about why that happened and how that happened. We have news about the founder of the fake news website, Mahesh Hegde, being arrested. We don't usually talk about websites like Postcard and Op India and all, but because, this is in the news, we'll just discuss Postcard. Dalit protests SC/ST Act, and of course there was that huge bandh which turned violent the country over. We will discuss that a little bit, and that is on the on the lines that was following the Supreme Court order about how the SC/ST Act should be amended. Then there was the order in UP that Ambedkar's middle name is Ramji, so that has to be used in all official communication. The most interesting of the week, Minister Baba Rao from Madhya Pradesh. So the Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister has given minister status to 5 Babas. And so they're very interesting Babas. So we will discuss that and why that is so. In fact, one of the Babas is called Computer Baba. And they have, all been given minister state status. And finally, we will also discuss, if we have the time, the Videocon ICICI bank loan row. Since we have Joydeep with us, maybe he can shed some light. He's worked for the Pink Papers in the past. And in unusual news, or news that is not unusual, in fact, Arvind Kejriwal extended an apology to Arun Jaitley. So I think that kind of sums up all his apologies. I don't think any more apologies are due. So I think he can can his apologies. And we have some subscriber letters. First, let's just wind up this fake news regulation thing. To give you a little bit of context, there was an order. In fact, Manisha, why don't you give the context?
So there was a guideline which was issued by the Information and Broadcasting Ministry at around 10 p.m. on Monday, if I'm not mistaken.
Monday night.
On Monday night. Which said that basically it was designed to check fake news, and it said that any journalist, you can basically complain against any journalist for propagating or promoting or creating fake news.
Right.
And once that complaint is registered, if the person is accredited, is a PIB accredited journalist, will lose his accreditation. And in 15 days, there will be a committee that will be set up to decide whether that news item was fake or not. And once it's decided that it's fake, you'd lose your accreditation for, I think, 6 months. And if you do it for a second time, then you lose it for a year.
So for figuring out what is accreditation and what it gives you, you can read our explainer on it, put together by Cherry Agarwal, the link below.
Yeah. Among other things, it basically gives you a lot of access to cover government ministries. Shastri Bhavan, basically. Eases your access into government meetings,
press conferences
where the PM is the guest, cabinet meetings, parliament also.
Right. So, Joydeep, let's start with you. What is your reading? There are two theories flying around. One is that it was a trial balloon. And of course, the Telegraph headline on this was nasty, as Trump was a nasty woman. Which was Modi had a little lamp.
Modi has a sacrificial
lamp, a little sacrificial lamb.
Yeah.
So the theory is that he wanted to do this all along. He got her to do it to see how people would react. Of course, when it went out, the reaction from the journalistic community was so swift and so, aggressive that he said that, chalo, I'm cancelling it. So he comes out looking as a good guy. And if the response wouldn't have been quite so dramatic, then it would have gone through. So I am not so keen on that theory. I do believe that I think Miss Irani acted on her own, but I don't know. What is your view?
I kind of subscribe to that.
With the
I don't think the minister could have acted on her own.
Okay, so you think the PM was in the loop?
Because also it was a draft. It must have needed time to prepare, research. Couldn't have been something overnight. So something of that scale wouldn't have escaped the Prime Minister's notice.
Manisha?
I think it was completely not thought through. I mean, I'm pretty sure it happened in 2 hours. She just decided, let me just
was
do
it
something.
Choreographed? Was PM a part of the choreography?
I don't think so. I mean, it's just really bizarre conspiracy theory. I mean, it's giving too much credit. I mean, then they're really
it's, I think, a rational conspiracy theory. Whether you believe it or not is the question.
Yeah, I don't think
it's not bizarre.
I mean, इतना सोचेंगे कोई कि हम ऐसे we'll just do this, and then once the journalists push back, then I'll step in, and then
Maybe they did not expect that.
Do they do that?
The pushback will be
perhaps, but I mean, the guidelines themselves were written so poorly. Even if she wants to clamp down in a way, there are intelligent ways to do it. It was written so silly because it's not just creation of fake news, also propagating. What is propagating? If a journalist is found propagating fake news, so if I retweet an article which is fake,
you see how Section 66A was drafted.
Yeah,
the language. So I mean, that was. I mean, one is I don't think one should ever underestimate how far ahead they plan. I mean, it's like a move of chess. We'll do this, they'll do this, we'll do this, they'll do. They plan 8 moves ahead. So that I think is perfectly reasonable to assume. Whether you believe it or not is a different thing. What do you think, sir?
See, it's a matter of fact that the Prime Minister office has given, a list of list of policies to each of the ministries. And Prime Minister has been tracking development on each decision, that the ministry takes through the secretaries. There is a particular portal. Each secretary is supposed to, update the Prime Minister directly. Not even the ministers, Prime Minister directly. This is happening. But in this particular case, I do not think it came from the PMO. As Manisha is saying that the way it has been, framed, the entire thing, I think it was done really in a huff. If it was very thoughtful, I think, they would have, there was no thought given to that particular order that came from the minister. So I don't think it was done by the PMO. And also I have just learned that the Prime Minister office, somebody has informed that she has taken such decision in a half, in the previous ministries also and this ministry as well, which could be very embarrassing considering the fact that the 2019 elections are coming. So the PMO has now started looking into the decisions which the PMO Prime Minister never asked for and what decision she has. So they are already looking into this. So I think it was taken directly by her.
Yeah, but I think, regarding the coverage of this across television channels and Manisha's written a very nice piece about on fake news and the many-headed monster. Lovely illustration created by Anish. The what is fake news is so vaguely defined and so badly understood even by news professionals that one can only wonder what a regular non-news professional would think of it, let alone the ministers.
Yeah,
who,
exactly.
You know, when I see the debates on it, the discussions on it, people who've been in news for years cannot, you know, they club editorial oversight as fake news. They club sharing an article by a regular person written by a news organization as that he's putting fake news. Dude, you're just putting an article out. So I think this has been one of the most uneducated debates across television channels and platforms. And I really hope that we should come up with a more detailed article, you know, in the next week or two. I mean, Manisha's already put one together, but I think it requires, maybe we should just do an entire podcast on it. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's very important, especially media literacy, because like you said, if news professionals themselves are not clear, it's really tough to have an average news consumer understand, you know, what is fake, what is not fake, what are the ways in which, how do you distinguish between a fake news article versus an article that just got its facts wrong. So I think that's very important. Also, I think it works in the government's favor also to muddy this debate, because like you said, we saw that there was a website, True Picture, which has links to the PM. They put out an article saying fight fake news, and it has 2 pieces from the Indian Express, which made the government look bad, and all ministers are tweeting saying, oh, this is fake news. And it wasn't fake news. It was based on an FIR and a cabinet secretary note. But just because there was a rebuttal from the government doesn't mean the news becomes fake.
Correct.
You know? And I think...
In fact, Vineet Jain, in the middle of all this,
Vineet,
which was pretty interesting. A, because it came from the big guy and
the man who owns the Times of India.
Okay, at least partially owns the Times of India. And also what he had to say, that fake news is news that's been created with conscious knowledge that it's not true. That is unacceptable and that's a menace, whatever. And then he distinguishes that from inaccurate reporting.
Right.
So
because he has a certain expertise in that.
Yeah.
So at least he's master of one of those arts.
Also, there has been another conspiracy theory going around,
which is
regarding the timing of this particular note.
Okay.
That school of thought is that, you know, to deflect the attention from the Dalit Bandh
from the Bharat
movement, violence.
I see, like that.
I don't know. I mean, how credible that is can be a fake news.
Well, actually, that's a theory. It's not really fake news. It's just a theory. But yeah.
So that's what. Now they did not define fake news. They did not know difference between the inaccurate and fake. So how can you? I mean, so the government will get a free hand to, you know, dub any of your reports as fake news.
Anything that makes them look
trouble
bad.
You.
Yeah.
And another thing, what about people like for me, I as a principal never went for accreditation card. I never took. I never opted for it. Never applied for it. Okay. So what about those persons who don't have
How are they punished? The ones who are not accredited?
How are you going to punish them?
Yeah, the rest could just go on with fake or real news, whatever they...
So not
just
only
3,000
that,
are
so
accredited.
you did not take the card because on principle you did not want to take the card. But if you look at that carefully, there was no mention of the electronic... I mean, there was a mention of electronic media, but not online media.
Right.
Because the online media doesn't get the accreditation card.
Exactly. So if she was not even considering regulating them, whereas our experience is that most of the fake news
spread.
is
That's
being
true.
generated.
Actually, that makes no sense.
And then
basically, nothing about this makes sense.
Yeah, because
nothing of
if
that.
the biggest spreaders of fake news is it's happening online on WhatsApp,
correct.
WhatsApp.
and you don't. Basically, you're just saying 3,000 journalists will be punished for their reporting. That's all.
But coming to this whole, the guy, the owner of that website, I try not to name them because, just out of curiosity, people will start checking out that website and sharing those articles, and then you never, some of those idiots may
Postcard
think it's
news
true.
is so popular though. Like every time I meet people outside my journalism circle, I know of people who read it, who share it, and who believe in it.
There was this guy who on my WhatsApp group, school WhatsApp group, shared postcard news article and some other Open India type articles. So it's a group of about 60-70 people. The only way to deal with this, fake news at an unofficial level is I shame them into saying कि यार यही websites मिली जिनके तुम news share करना चाहते हो. मतलब I really say माँ बाप ने पढ़ा लिखा के तुम्हें स्कूल भेजा, कॉलेज भेजा, विदेश भेजा, ये किया वो किया, और तुम ऐसी वेबसाइट्स की न्यूज़ और घटिया न्यूज़ दिखाते हो कि you display your ignorance. So that kind of shames them into not sharing postcard news type websites. But that is a long process. I'm sure not everybody will do that, and not everybody will be shamed. So yeah, but coming to that, so that this guy who was arrested, I think this is a more interesting debate, because it's not just binary about freedom of speech vis-a-vis fake news, vis-a-vis does it actually lead to violence, should you be punished for it, especially in the US, which has the most liberal laws on freedom of speech. There was a case where a bit of fake news caused a man to walk into a pizza parlor and fire a gun because he thought what he read in the news was true. In that context, I think one would have to look at what is punishable, what is not. Because as technology moves forward, laws have to move forward. So I think there is a conversation there that needs to be had. I really don't know which way it will go or what should come of it. But that's an important conversation, because you can't shut it down saying that everything that is untrue but is not giving someone a direct order to kill someone is freedom of speech. But at the other hand, that is also one of the principles that, I have believed all my life. So I mean...
we need to shun, fake news. We cannot, defend people just in the name of freedom of speech. That's what I feel. We need to tackle the menace of fake news. Now, how? I think part of it, this alt news, as one way of fact checking. This is one way of doing it. Then there is a legal way of also handling it. So I think in some ways we need to handle this menace. And it's not just the journalists who are spreading it. Now on the WhatsApp and on other social media. So I personally feel that the political IT cells are equally responsible for it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They are hugely responsible. True. But sorry, you're saying something?
No, and in Postcard, the news for which he was arrested was basically there was a Jain monk who had an accident, and I think there were pictures of him hurt, and he put out stories saying that a Muslim youth attacked him. Now it's such a sensitive. I mean, if this news spreads, it can create so much mayhem. There can be backlash, and it happens in India all the time.
Sure.
You had a case where northeastern students had to rush from Bangalore because there were WhatsApp messages doing the wrong. So you definitely have to check it, but I also think that we have enough laws to deal with problems that arise of fake news. Like you have libel, you have defamation, you have religious harmony hurting. So should you penalize the act of pushing out of fake news or the effects of fake news?
Sure. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, maybe the laws already exist and don't really need any more laws. But
at the same time, it is also true that there is no regulation as of now. So,
except Germany has one where they have said that they heavily fine and can even criminalize social networks that don't pull down fake news in like 24 hours, and they're heavy fines. But then also Germany's gone through Holocaust. It's gone through a lot. So they're also a society that doesn't want.
And they're very conscience sensitive on this.
Bigotry, racism means a lot. I mean,
especially in on the web, where news ends and where entertainment takes over, it's anyway a very thin line. You can find both on the same website, and there are several websites like that who are doing part journalism, part something else. If all other industries are being regulated, they have to follow some or the other kind of protocol, then maybe then we also need to debate on where we should stand.
Sure. I mean, protocols, there are some protocols in place, but on content, I think with the internet becoming this thing that is so big that has taken over lives.
Like today itself, there was a news item. Apparently, the government is mulling over online platforms. And the very first thing that has come up is which ministry is responsible for what. Will it be IT or will it be INB?
Right.
So we can see that even at the government level.
Level,
Even at
there's
ministerial
no
level,
clarity
they don't know.
Yeah, you'd be surprised at how little they know.
But one
I'll tell
thing
you
I'd
one
just like to add on the fake news thing is a lot of regular people do trust fake news websites.
Sure.
And that's because somewhere mainstream media has also failed people. There's there's a lot of mistrust among people in journalists. And I think it's post-Radia. I think that's when it really kind of broke. And maybe because of biases that seep into reportage or really like overt sides that media takes. But there has to also be some sort of inward or maybe media literacy or something, from mainstream media outlets to sort of win back that trust also.
But that's true. But I think the people have also, over a period, they take some time, but they realize that this website is giving us fake news. So in the end, they start detesting it.
No, Raman sir, I think you're being too kind to people. I think I disagree with you and you, Anisha, both. One is that while I agree there has to be some introspection among news professionals as to how they report news, what kind of, everyone from, I think the most introspection people like Arnab need to do, and then down the line others have to introspect to some. But I won't bung that into the same basket as why fake news is becoming popular. Because fake news popularity is a worldwide phenomena. Not just India, and Radia was an Indian phenomena. Radia was 2011. The Anna protest was a direct fallout of the Radia controversy. It rode on the back of discredited journalism that I will tell you what Robert Vadra has done. No one else has the guts to do that story. Arvind Kejriwal has the guts to tell you that. But today's fake news proliferation has nothing to do with discredited journalists. It has to do with the internet and how it is easily available, and technology tools that can make it very easy to make something look, official, and people's desire to be, for confirmation bias. They'll, for example, I know people who know that the news is fake. They'll say, share karte ja. Fikar mat kar. Hame to bas shor machana hai na. They are like that. So they won't certainly introspect.
Possibly also it caters to your very base biases or base kind of understanding of the world. No, and it's simple language, it's kind of
more
accessible.
Professionally done bias.
Yeah.
I have an email. This is from Harshit. Harshit says, "Hi Hafta team. I'm somewhat a recent subscriber and have become a huge fan of Anil, Hafta and all your other podcasts. I'm just writing in as short response to one of your mail. I'm just writing in as a short response to one of the mails you received on Hafta 165 and the subsequent discussion you guys had regarding Facebook listening in on you through your phone's microphone. Though the Facebook app has access to your phone's microphone on both Android and iOS, you can revoke said access and continue using the app. In any case, it is now a well-established fact that Facebook does not use the microphone to collect data about you to target ads. It does, however, use some very shady techniques to know very intimate details about you, which is why people get mistaken into believing that Facebook has been listening in. One of these techniques is the Facebook Pixel, which is an invisible pixel that Facebook has on partner websites, constantly sending data regarding your activities, so your sojourns. That's how you pronounce the word, right? Does anyone know? For sure? Okay. Across the internet are all under the watchful eye of Facebook, even when you don't know it. For more information, you should listen to this wonderful and seminal episode of this podcast called Reply All, where they break down a few of the sorts of instances you were discussing. Anyway, he's sent the link to that. You can check out the link on the mail, which will be published on our website. Keep up the good work. Paying to keep news free. Harshit Pasi. Thanks, Harshit. Thank you for paying to keep news free. Mufat Khors listening in for free. Take Harshit's advice. Pay to keep news free. And also check out his article in case you think you're being snooped on by Facebook.
Sun liya Afrika, Mufat Khoron. Not to brag or anything, but News Laundry Hafta features in the top 50 in the world on SoundCloud in the news and politics category for podcasts. So do subscribe and see what you're missing, because when the public pays, the public is served. When advertisers pay, advertisers are served. Subscribe, help keep news independent and free.
All News Laundry podcasts are available on iTunes and Stitcher and any other podcast platform.